Welcome back to the channel once again, guys. Thank you so much for joining me here. So I found this fantastic article here on movieweb.com. They're talking about, the return of Zack Snyder, the return of the SnyderVerse, now that Netflix is going to be gaining control after the regulatory, process. After about a year and a half, whenever that process is finished, Netflix will be taking over Warner Brothers Discovery and along with it DC. It looks like Zack Snyder could return, but this article brings up a lot of great talking points about should Zack Snyder return, should the Justice League movies return, and there's just a lot of great things for us to kind of dive into here and have a wider discussion, basically about the Snyderverse and Netflix here. So Zack Snyder's Justice League 2 can finally happen, but it shouldn't. So they're of the opinion that it should be left in the past and basically it shouldn't be happening. So let's get into this and see what they have to say. Despite being a figurative Frankenstein of a movie, 2021's Zack Snyder's Justice League was a hit with fans of the writer-director's version of the DC cinematic universe. Although, a long-awaited sequel is now more possible than ever. Absolutely, like I've been saying on the channel, guys, over the past few weeks, with Zack Snyder posting up all of these kind of Snyderverse images on his Instagram, and Netflix acquiring Warner Brothers, we're getting closer and closer and closer to the Snyderverse. And remember the Superman image that we took a look at yesterday on the channel? By the way, I'll link that video in the description if you didn't see it. At the end of the caption, Zack Snyder says, "And here's to more stories together." What did he mean by that? Was he teasing his return? Okay, so let's get back to this. Snyder was originally intended to be the sole director of the 2017 Justice League movie, but he stepped away after a devastating family tragedy, and Joss Whedon took over to finish the project. Yeah, so the thing is, the theatrical cut of Justice League, I wouldn't say it's a bad movie, it's not. But when Zack Snyder's cut of the movie came out, it just went to show his original vision, and it's leaps and bounds better than the theatrical cut. The redesign of Steppenwolf, they added in extra scenes for extra context. I mean, the Flash scenes were incredible, and it just went to show the difference between the theatrical cut and Zack Snyder's original kind of vision for the movie. But theatrical cut wasn't bad, but the Snyder cut showed us what it should have been, and it was just a lot better than the theatrical cut. Okay, where are we? So Snyder eventually returned to complete his version of the movie with extensive reshoots, increasing the movie's runtime to just over 4 hours. That's 4 hours of goodness. Man, once you start that movie, even though it's 4 hours, it's hard to stop it. You'll sit there for the entire 4 hours and just watch the whole run through. It's really hard to stop that movie once you get going. So referred to collectively by the fans as the Snyderverse, the movies that shared continuity with the Justice League were gradually greenlit, and the particular era of DC history is now over. Still, some fans strongly believe the Snyderverse should be revived. Me and you. Including producing a sequel to Snyder's 2021 film and possibly other installments within the dormant timeline. However, Warner Brothers' decision to reboot the DCU with James Gunn at the top of the hierarchy meant the Snyderverse had no real future. That said, with Warner Brothers on the brink of being acquired by Netflix, the door is back open for Henry Cavill's Superman and his Justice League allies. Yeah, and I mean, the biggest piece of supporting evidence that something is happening with the Snyderverse is obviously Zack Snyder himself posting up all those images, like I say, on his Instagram. I mean, ultimately, what is the purpose of it? I mean, I know he's trying to attract followers to his Instagram, and that he's trying to reminisce in the good times and kind of showing his respect for the characters. I get that with those images. But I mean, the fact that he knows that he's giving hope to people by posting up these images that the Snyderverse may return, and the fact that he hasn't put out any statement or notice telling us that he's just putting out these pictures for fun, he's kind of stringing us along. So there's a lot of us that kind of, hope and pray that something is going to happen here. Netflix's acquisition of Warner Brothers would make Zack Snyder's Justice League sequel more likely than ever. Absolutely it would. In a deal worth an eye-watering $82.7 billion. And by the way, we just put out a video earlier on the channel talking about how Paramount are trying to come in and sabotage the deal, and they're trying to pay more now for Warner Brothers, more than Netflix did, and they're trying to sabotage the deal and take it for themselves. Do check out that video. It's very interesting, the information it goes into. The Hollywood Reporter has announced that Netflix is on the verge of acquiring Warner Brothers. Should a merger become official, which looks likely, the streaming giants would be able to add everything in the Warner Brothers library to their worldwide platform. Not only that, but Netflix could technically revisit the decision to end the Snyderverse, a move made years ago when Warner Brothers had the final say on this matter. With renewed interest in SnyderVerse's, With renewed interest in Snyder's DC franchise, which could easily give similar scenarios in which Netflix has acquired a property, the demand for more SnyderVerse content could surge. Absolutely it will. As soon as the acquisition period, it's going to take about a year to a year and a half to go through the regulatory process. Is going to be about a year to a year and a half until they take full control of Warner Brothers. Then everyone's going to go crazy, tagging Netflix, kind of bothering them, annoying them, emailing them, constantly kind of pestering them. Make sure you do it in a legal way if you do it, by the way, to get the return of the SnyderVerse. But the thing is, it costs a lot of money to make these movies. Would Netflix really put up several hundreds of millions of dollars to make a Justice League 2 or a Ben Affleck Batman solo film? We'd have to wait and see. I mean, they've put millions of dollars into crappier films. The Electric State that was done by the Russo brothers, that cost like $300 million and it was crap. They did The Grey Man with Chris Evans, Captain America himself. They spent $200 million, flopped on its face. So if they're prepared to spend $200 million on Grey Man that was crap, they spent $300 million on The Electric State. Why the hell would they not spend, 150, 200 million on a Justice League 2 from Zack Snyder? It seems like a safer bet than those other two crap movies. So I don't know where their logic would be if they decided not to. But that's a conversation for another video. Okay, Snyder's version of the Justice League is generally seen as the definitive edit of the movie. However, deciding whether the original 2021 iteration is part of the Snyderverse canon is an ongoing debate among fans. No, I don't think it is. I don't think that's correct at all. There is no ongoing debate about the canon of the Snyderverse. The Snyder cut of the Justice League is the canon, not the theatrical cut. The theatrical cut is cool, and some people probably still watch it. But if you've got a choice between those two movies, there is no way that you would choose the theatrical cut of the movie over the Snyder cut version. The Snyder cut version is the definitive version. It's from the director himself. So of course that's going to be the canon version that we're going to be going with. Why on earth would it be the theatrical cut that's the canon version done by Joss Whedon? That doesn't make any sense. Therefore, even if Netflix does revive the franchise, one version of events would need to be canonized over the other. Obviously, Zack Snyder's cut, his original vision for the movie, would be the canon. Why would Joss Whedon's version be the canon? It wouldn't. As they have significant differences when compared, regardless, not only would it be messy to bring back the Snyderverse out of dormancy, but it would also be incredibly confusing for casual fans. No, it wouldn't. It wouldn't, because if you brought out a Justice League 2, or a Man of Steel 2, at the beginning, like they do with a lot of sequels, at the beginning, you'd have like a 5-minute kind of recap at the beginning of the film, just kind of recapping the events of Man of Steel, recapping the events of Batman v Superman, and recapping, a small amount of the events from the Justice League movie, what that are pivotal to the story going forward. You'd have a quick sort of like 2-minute, 3-minute, 4-minute, even a 5-minute blurb, prologue, whatever you want to call it, at the beginning, kind of explaining the events that have happened so far. People would then be on board, then watch the rest of Justice League 2. It's easy. No one's going to be confused. But it would also be incredibly confusing for casual fans. A follow-up of Zack Snyder's Justice League was an interesting prospect at one point, but Netflix will hopefully see sense and leave well enough alone if the Warner Brothers deal is made official. The thing that I fear is that I can see Netflix kind of going somewhere in the middle and kind of compromising. Instead of doing a live action, I can see them like trying to do some sort of like limited animated version or something, kind of like Creature Commandos, but like a Justice League version where they try to do a series and they draw it out over several months. They try to make an animated version of Justice League 2 and 3, something that nobody wants. But I can see them doing that because it's cheaper, quicker, more effective. They know they're going to gain subscribers from it, but if they do that, I think that's ultimately the wrong decision to make. But again, it is Netflix, and sometimes they make baffling decisions. So the Netflix is set to become a haven for Zack Snyder fans. If it is assumed that the content on HBO Max, which is currently a Warner Brothers streaming service, would move over to Netflix following the deal being finalized, then a Netflix subscription would become even more appealing for those who have followed the Snyder career. Even putting the SnyderVerse movies to one side for a second, the writer-director also made 2006's 300, which is incredible, as well as projects like 2009's Watchmen, which divides a lot of people, but I still think it's a great film, and 2011's cult classic Sucker Punch. I go back and forth on Sucker Punch. Sometimes I enjoy it, sometimes I don't. On Netflix already, Snyder fans can stream the two Army verse movies, as well as the Rebel Moon movies and their R-rated director cuts, which also have longer runtimes. Let's just keep going down here. The Netflix Warner Bros. Deal could also impact Zack Snyder's DC successors. So, Creature Commando Season 1 officially started a new timeline called the DCU, with James Gunn and Peter Safran being installed as co-CEOs. There's been no real word yet on what kind of restructuring might happen when Netflix takes over, but the possibility remains that Gunn and Safran could have at least some of their control over the DCU rescinded. With successes like Peacemaker Season 2 and 2025 Superman, it would probably be a little bit premature for Netflix to intervene, but it's not impossible either. So regardless, imminent DCU projects coming up in 2026 like Lanterns and Supergirl are expected to go ahead as planned. If the takeover happens, Netflix will closely monitor the DCU's box office success and make decisions from there. Yeah, I think a lot of the future of DC is going to ride on the performance of Supergirl, Lanterns and Clayface. That's the next three big projects that are coming up. I don't think Supergirl is going to perform anywhere near as good as Superman. When you think about the character, she's not anywhere near as popular as Superman. Superman, what? It fizzled out at what, was it 616 million, the box office? I don't think Supergirl is going to get anywhere near that. I would be surprised if Supergirl breaks 400 million. I'd be very, very surprised if it did. Then we've got the Clayface live action movie. Like, I don't think anybody's going to watch it. I'm interested in it because it's the Clayface body horror film. That has my interest. But I don't think anybody's going to watch it. Then we have the Lanterns HBO show. I think a lot of people will watch it. HBO have great quality shows like The Penguin. They've got a proven track record with great quality shows. And a lot of people love The Penguin, so I think a lot of people will also check out the Lantern show. I think it will do pretty well. But I don't think Supergirl will be successful. So, where are we? Given how reactive Netflix has been in the past with projects that haven't reached specific expectations, it wouldn't be surprising if Gunn and Safran were more than a little worried about their potential new bosses. Either way, while upcoming DCU projects are a guarantee at this point, Zack Snyder's Justice League getting a sequel is still just outside speculation. Yeah, I mean, that's what we've been talking about on the channel now for a good few kind of months, since that first Superman picture that Zack Snyder posted up on his Instagram. And since the hype has started and the momentum's been bringing behind the SnyderVerse campaign, we've been talking about it a lot on the channel, but they bring up some good talking points there. But ultimately, it's going to come down to, does Supergirl succeed? Does Clayface and Lantern succeed? If all three of those projects come out and they're kind of mid and they don't hit the expectations, James Gunn's position could be in trouble, and they could think about bringing back Zack Snyder. We'll have to see how that all turns out, but it's just a waiting game at this point. As well, we don't know if Paramount are now making this bigger bid than Netflix, so are Paramount going to scoop the deal? I mean, there's so much up in the air, but guys, jump into the comment section and let me know what you think. There was a lot of reading here, so I do apologize, but you know, all really important stuff to the future of the Snyderverse and DC as a whole, so it needs to be talked about here. But like I say, leave your thoughts, your comments, your theories, your opinions, and anything else you want to talk about regarding this news story. Would love to hear what you guys have to say. Thanks so much for being here as always. Make sure you hit the like button before you leave, guys. Make sure you become a subscriber if you haven't done so far. And hit that notification bell so you stay up to date with all the DC news going on over the festive period. You don't want to miss out on any of that exciting stuff. And with all that down, I will see you in the next video.